What is up, my entertainment junkies? And looks like audio is recording right. We are looking at probably going to be a longer video since it's 30 minutes long and my reactions tend to be like twice as long. So get some popcorn. Enjoy. We're in for the long run. Why Texas is becoming the most powerful state. This is probably made by a Texan too.
Texas. With an energy sector that's unmatched nationwide, population growth rate that's quadruple the national.
Yeah, they have their own energy sector, and last year it went down and caused mass chaos and panic. And I'm pretty sure, regrettably, a few deaths. But so I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, take this with a grain of salt, and it seems that it might be actually biased.
National media and a tech industry that's quickly rivaling Silicon Valley, the Lone Star State
I doubt it.
Trajectory to become the most powerful state in America, and soon. Forget California's massive economy and entertainment industry, or New York with its global hub for finance, fashion, and the arts. It is Texas that's on a path to totally overshadow the rest of the US, and the facts back this up. But how is this possible? How has a scarcely inhabited and desolate wilderness on the distant fringes of the declining...
I'm sorry, what? Scarcely. Why have I not freaking set Google as my fucking main thing yet? Texas. Oh wait, I should probably put population. $30 million people. To put that in perspective, United Kingdom. God, if I can spell. Population. 60 million. So one state has half as many people as all of United Kingdom. Yeah, that's scarcely populated. Fucking bullshit.
Spanish Empire transformed into a global powerhouse in just a few centuries. Let's get into it.
Okay, they were talking about
Texas
before
might not
modernization.
Be the state by land or by population. However, it does rank near the top for both categories, as well as most other areas of influence. Even better, it's gradually climbing the ranks across a wide range of metrics, some that you may not even be aware of. Let's start off with population. Back in 2020, California had as many as 10 million more people than Texas did. That's 39,538,223 to be precise. Now, 10 million people are by no means a small difference, but there's a piece of...
When you look at America as a whole, it is.
Texas also had the largest population increase in the last decade out of all U.S. states. An important thing to track because with more people comes more political power, particularly in the U.S. House of Representatives. But we'll come back to...
Alright, so quick explanation on how the House works. Based on your population, you get more or less votes as a state. So let's say Texas has 6 votes. I'm not making up these numbers. These are not the actual vote counts, but say Texas has 30 million people, have 6, let's make it easier to understand. 3 votes. So for every 1 million people, there's 1 vote. Let's say Mississippi has 10 million people, so they'll only have 1 vote. And it is actually built this way so a majority have power, but without giving them absolute control. And that's at least on the national level. State levels vary based on state, on how they legalize shit. But it's pretty much to keep power within the most people's best interest, and also still giving voting power to the less populated states so that they don't get completely screwed over. I think I explained that pretty much as well as I could.
To that in a moment. First, a brief walk through the state's history will tell you just how large this population increase has been and why California should be getting nervous by this point.
Oh yeah, also population increase. Um, because of politics, there's a mass exodus. Political choices. There's a mass exodus in California, and not a lot of people moving into California, so they're going negative. Right now, there's not that many people leaving Texas, and there's a lot of people going into Texas, so that's a net positive. But a lot of these people in California, most likely, they're going to vote for the same politics that they ran away from, thinking that they'll do it better, and cause the same thing where it's going to be a mass net negative because more people are leaving than people coming in, which will either drastically change the political landscape or the population, giving them less power, less votes.
6 US censuses would pass before Texas joined the US. The first two were dominated by Virginia as the most populous state, a title overtaken by New York at the third census and kept for an
What
impressive
state was Texas, anyways? Escape. What state number is Texas? 28.
150 years. What disrupted this status quo was the pace of Americans moving to the western and southern states in the mid 20th century, giving states like California, Florida, and Texas a significant boost. So, in the 1960s, Texas ranked 6th by population. With its 9.5 million residents,
6 out of the
it was
28.
only behind Ohio,
So still high.
Illinois, Pennsylvania,
New
California,
York was up
and
there?
New York.
Jesus.
The 1970 US Census marked the downfall of New York, getting knocked from the first position by California. Texas, for its part, moved to the 4th place with an astonishing 16.9% increase in population, amounting to almost 11.2 million people. The 1980 US Census saw this number rise to 14.2 million, designating Texas as the 3rd most populous state in the US. While Texas saw an impressive 19.4% population increase at the 1990 census, it was still ranked number 3, only behind New York and California. The 1990s were also when the more than 10 million gap between California and other US states first appeared. It would take another decade before Texas assumed the high 2nd place it holds today, surpassing 20 million residents at the 2000 US Census. Though California was still firmly planted at number 1, Texas boasted, and still does, a much faster growth rate than the Golden State.
It's still gonna has to stagnate
as well, when Texas grew by 20.6% to reach a figure of 25 million people. In comparison, California grew significantly slower, leaving it with 37.2 million people at the 2010 census. This gap would only widen in the 2020s when Texas grew by 15.9% to 29.14 million people.
All right. Well, I'm actually gonna let this
while
finish this one.
California only grew by 6% to 39.54 million people. If you do the math, you'll realize that the...
All right. So we're gonna have to go into one more thing about why Texas is definitely gonna be bigger than California. Land. They have more land than California, so they have more. They have the potential to hold more people. Eventually, California is gonna max out on resources and amount of land, and they can only build up so high. So Texas, especially with all the amusement parks and stuff that's in California, that land's not going to be built upon for housing. So Texas's population is going to be bigger. How many amusement park? Actually, acres of amusement park properties in Texas That's fun. 97 acres. I wish there was a freaking straight answer. Alright, well, let's go with numbers. Because most amusement parks are roughly the same size for the most part. Disney's gonna be bigger. How many amusement parks are in California? Let's start with that. 81 amusement parks. Watch me get fucking. Okay, yeah. So they have less amusement parks. They're getting one more. If I had to guess, most of them are around the same acreage. Although Disney and SeaWorld are in California and they're going to be bigger. So there's more land taken off of available housing, unless the amusement parks slow down. So Texas can and most likely will be bigger than California, because California is going to stagnate in the amount of resources and land way before Texas does.
Overall gap between California and Texas narrowed from 13 million to only 10.4 million during the first 2 decades of the 21st century. More importantly, this gap has only kept narrowing since. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck in 2020, California faced an unprecedented scenario in its long history of demographic dominance. It actually started losing people. By July of 2022, an estimated 700,000 people left California. Throw the 200,000 new residents into the mix, and you get an alarming population decline of roughly 500,000. Texas,
There
on
you
the other
go.
hand, faced no similar scenario. In fact, its population grew by almost 900,000 people between April of 2020 and July of 2022. So, for the first time in recent history, the gap in population between California and Texas dropped below 10 million. California had a little over 39 million people, while Texas had over 30. Unsurprisingly, Texas isn't slowing down at all. The Lone Star State added some million people to its overall population in the last 2 years, while California's growth was measured in thousands. This puts the gap between California and Texas to fewer than 8 million people as of 2024. If Texas keeps up with the current...
Alright, 8 million people, that may not sound like it's a little amount, but in comparison, America in general has 339 million people. It's close to that. Over 330 million people. So that's less than 1%.
growth
Like
rate,
0.3%,
it's
I think.
expected to surpass California sometime in the 2040s.
It'll
So,
probably
with
be
that
faster
in
than
mind,
that.
let's talk political power. The U.S. House of Representatives, the lower
Ooh.
chamber of the U.S. Congress, is population-based. That's how Texas managed to add 2 new representatives in a relatively short period of time, bringing its total to 38, which is 8.7% of the total 435 seats. Texas also accounts for over 7% of electoral votes needed to win the U.S. presidency. So it's no wonder the lone...
Alright. I've been meaning to talk about this anyways. So, this is why the House of Representatives and choosing a president works the way it is. Because, other than that, if it was normal, most of the population are in big cities like San Diego, New York City, Colorado, Denver, all these big cities. They hold most of the population. How many of them do you think know what's best, how to raise food? What's best for the food? Do we need water here or here? They're going to choose the big cities, minus the farms that actually need it, to keep these big cities running. So, but if we chose based on, and we need the president who can somewhat keep order between these cities, and even though that's not technically his job, it somehow became it. But yeah, that's why we do it, so that these cities don't get favored for choosing a president that puts in policies that help these cities at the detriment of these rural areas. Rural? I can't ever say that fucking word. And these rural areas are better protected and can actually get the resources that they get policies for resources that they need federally versus only caring about the cities, and these rural areas go down, these farmlands go down because we need water in these cities. So we're going to restrict water from these rural areas because there's not that many people. But these rural areas need more water than the cities because of all the crops that we send to the cities so that they can eat. That's pretty much why we have House of Representatives and why we don't have just vote. The president is elected on popular vote.
Lone Star State is one of the most sought after states in the presidential elections. In recent history, the state has gone decidedly Republican. The last time Texas voted blue was in 1976. The state has also been.
Alright. I gotta pull this up. Texas political map. I'm not being shown any bias, but yeah, that's heavily Republican, isn't it? I'm trying to remember where San Antonio is. And Austin. And Houston. Political map. Let's do this, because this will show a big change. 2024. Oh god, it's actually going more red. I didn't expect that. Well, I guess we're in good news, but 2020 images 2020. Wait. Look at this again. Alright. Yeah, it's going more red. Alright, so to teach y'all how to read a political map. Oh, there's Austin. Dark red means heavily conservative. Light red means slightly conservative. Light blue means slightly democratic. And dark blue means heavily democratic. So, it is going more red. I expected it more to be like this the whole time. Oh well. I was wrong.
At the forefront of many prominent social issues in the US, including immigration and healthcare, with Texas often setting the tone for national debates.
Okay, here's the thing about Texas, and it will be true for New Mexico, Arizona, California, which California is weird because they're on the pro side of it. Is they're gonna be heavily more against not immigration in general, but illegal, be more for heavier what's the word? They're gonna be more for being tougher on illegal immigration because that's where most of the people are gonna be. That's where most illegal immigrants are gonna come. These people do not pay taxes, so that hurts the Texas economy, the Arizona economy, the New Mexico economy. They often send the money back, so that's taking money out of the American populace and into their home, which I'm not really that against that one, mostly because I think our government needs to spend less anyways, but they're going to be more heavily against illegal immigration than places like New York and Colorado and Washington, who never see it because the border's all the way down there, and Canada doesn't really have a bad illegal immigration problem. I am talking about illegal immigration, not legal. That's a completely different subject. But, yeah.
The state's political
And they're gonna...
clout is...
Ah, shit. And this is how big Texas is. This is how much of the southern border that is Texas. It is way more than the borders of Arizona and New Mexico. So that's where most of the illegal immigrants are going to come.
further amplified by its economic power. However, Texas's economic power is arguably the number one reason why the Lone Star State is expected to become the most powerful state in the US. Let's break this down for a minute. First up, what's the current state of Texas's economy? When measured by nominal gross domestic product, or GDP, Texas has the second largest economy in the US.
I think
In
first would still be
2023,
California.
Texas's GDP was just over $2.5 trillion, a 6.7% increase from 2022. This means that Texas accounts for 9.37% of the national GDP of the United States, the largest economy in the world. Therefore, it shouldn't be surprising that if it were a country, that Texas would rank among the top 10 largest economies in the world. In fact, it would assume the impressive number 8 spot, surpassing economic powerhouses like Brazil, Canada, Russia, Australia, and Spain. That's
There is no way Russia's an economic powerhouse. If they would have said China, I would have probably somewhat given it to them, but there is no way Russia's up there. Australia, I don't know much about Australia's GDP, but there is no way Russia's up there.
just how powerful Texas
Well, I guess whenever you're not paying your people
is. But where
and
is
starving
this
them
power
out.
coming from? In other words, how has Texas become an economic powerhouse in its own right, competing for the title of the US's most powerful state? As we've previously mentioned, it's a little bit of everything. Texas is
Would it be
home
New
to
York or
several
California,
major
actually?
business hubs, each with a different economic strength. Take Austin as an example. The state capital of Texas is all about tech. So much so that experts claim it now rivals Silicon Valley in sheer innovation and growth. Then you have
Those are
Dallas,
beautiful buildings.
the finance powerhouse of the state. As a major center for banking, commerce, and industry, Dallas has attracted numerous Fortune 500 companies, while continuing to grow as an international financial hub. Next, there's Houston, which stands out as the energy capital of the world. Home to a large concentration of oil and gas companies, Houston's economy thrives on energy, making it a critical player in both national and global markets. And don't forget San Antonio, with its robust
Oh, that's
military
where San
presence,
Antonio is.
tourist appeal, and rapidly expanding cybersecurity industry. Each of these cities
Nope. Fuck that. Pump more money into San Antonio. We need better cybersecurity. We have had so many fucking hacks over the past few years that it is not fucking funny. I am... Not the video for that. Not the video for that.
contributes to Texas's overall economic might, making the state a formidable contender on the national stage. But with Texas, it's not just about the major cities. There are also important industries like aerospace and agriculture evenly spread out across the state, providing a strong backbone for the economy. Interestingly enough, it's this spread out growth that sets Texas apart from most US states. There isn't a single area expanding rapidly within the state. The whole of Texas is booming. This has also been the case with the state's population growth, undoubtedly fueled by the booming economy. However, the undisputed winners in this regard have been the Dallas-Fort Worth and the so-called Texas Triangle.
Why are the exiting
Dallas-Fort
vehicles
Worth,
going
or
faster?
DFW for short, has added almost 1.5 million people to its population since 2010. As of 2024, some 8.1 million call DFW home, after the metropolitan area in the north of Texas experienced the largest population growth of any similar area in the country in 2023. Overall, this impressive figure puts DFW at number 4, behind heavy hitters like Greater New York, Greater Los Angeles, and the Greater Chicago area. More importantly,
How did I forget about
DFW
Chicago?
is the
I
only
forget that exists
metropolitan
sometimes.
area at the top to experience population growth rather than decline in the last few years. This has allowed it to come really close to the Greater Chicago area and will likely surpass this famed metropolitan area sometime in the mid-2030s. What's even more impressive is that DFW is just one of the booming metropolitan areas within the so-called Texas Triangle. This region of Texas includes areas like the Houston, San Antonio, and Austin metropolitan areas, which also means it encompasses all the state's largest cities. So even though the Texas Triangle is only 60,000
Hold on, it's
square
gonna...
miles, not even a quarter of Texas's total land area, it houses more than 22 million people.
See, that's what I'm talking about. They have like 39 million people. Most of them are in this area. if we were going off of uh, political opinions and policies off of just straight popular vote, they're always going to favor this. Like, there's a drought. These people need water. What about the farmland and the all these other areas that need water? Well, there's more people here. They need the water. Okay? They implement that. These farmlands dry up. Their import and export of crops and their domestic crop is going to go down, making these people have to pay more for food, and it'll ultimately fuck up the whole state.
That's 3 out of every 4 Texans. This also makes the Texas Triangle the 4th most heavily populated megaregion in the US. Just for reference, the 3 larger megaregions are as follows. Number 1, the Great Lakes megalopolis, covering metropolitan areas like Chicago and Detroit and boasting almost 60 million people. Number 2, the Northeast megalopolis, stretching from Boston to Washington, D.C. and including major cities such as New York City, Philadelphia, and Baltimore in its 50 million population. And number 3, Southern California, which includes the sprawling metropolitan areas of Los Angeles, San Diego, and Riverside. This region houses 24 million people and represents a major cultural, economic, and entertainment center. You'll notice that Southern California and the Texas Triangle are the only top mega regions mostly contained within a single state's borders, further emphasizing the power that California and Texas hold. But while California still beats out Texas in some regards, there are a few key economic areas where Texas is either catching up or straight up leading. Take exports as an example. Texas is the US's top exporter by a margin. In
Exporter of what, though?
Texas exported $444 billion worth of goods. In comparison,
okay, goods
California
in general
only exported around $178 billion. This means that the exports from Texas to Mexico alone, estimated at some $144 billion, are almost enough by themselves to make Texas the biggest exporter in the US. Another category where Texas leads the race is the number of Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered in the state, 55, closely followed by California with 53.
Really?
This particular statistic prompted the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott,
I wonder where New York is.
The headquarters of headquarters. Here are some of the most notable Fortune 500
They're the HQ's HQ.
Caterpillar, headquartered in Irving, Dallas-Fort Worth.
I knew about Caterpillar. I don't know what that is.
Hewlett-Packard Enterprises, headquartered in
not sure what that
Houston
is.
metropolitan area. J.C. Penney, headquartered in Plano,
really?
Dallas-Fort Worth. Oracle,
thought that'd be in San
headquartered in
Antonio.
Austin, and Tesla, also headquartered in Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Interestingly, roughly 40% of all companies that have relocated their headquarters to Texas in the last few years have done so from California, serving as yet another indicator of the turning tides. Even the major corporations operating but not...
Alright, I'm gonna go into this briefly, but there are a few reasons that I can think of, mainly two, that drive companies into three actually, drive companies into other areas. One is better possibilities. They have an untapped market domestically. We're going to tap in, or a scarcely tapped into market. We're going to tap into that here, and we'll be able to sell domestically, which will spread it out. Two is political policies, and like how California said minimum wage is now for McDonald's workers, fast food workers now has to be like $20 an hour, which is fucking ridiculous. What are these companies gonna do? They're gonna move all their stuff out of there. They're gonna close down stores, making people lose their jobs, increase the amount of food. They're not gonna take a loss. They are gonna increase their profits however they can. They're gonna see that and say, "Oh, this is an excuse to increase our prices and close down stores so that we can break even." No, they're not breaking even. They're hiking them up higher than they need to be so they can make more of a profit. And then three is taxes. they will naturally gravitate towards lower tax areas, which I'm pretty sure Texas has a lower tax than or better tax policies than California, and definitely better than New York.
Headquartered in Texas, such as Office Depot, CVS Pharmacy, and Coca Cola, immensely contribute to the state's economy and job market. Other major corporations might not intend to move their headquarters to Texas just yet, but they are increasing their office presence in the Lone Star State. Apple, one of the largest tech giants in the US, has built a $1 billion, 3 million square foot campus in Austin. With an initial capacity of 5,000 employees, the Texas campus is only behind Apple's Cupertino, California headquarters, home to 12,000 employees. Google seems to have similar plans, announcing a $330 million investment into a Texas expansion in 2023. The tech giant plans to spend another $600 million on building a new data center site.
Okay, so this part about Google. First, how old is this video? 2 weeks ago. So they should have known about this. Google is currently getting sued for being a monopoly. I don't know all the details about it, but they pretty much control advertisement and as a search engine controls what pops up, and they are showing more of their stuff and their investments, stuff that will help them, and not as much about competitors, which will drive competitors low. But they are being sued, currently being sued, as calling them a monopoly to try to break them up. At least regulate them a little. So this may or may not happen.
In Red Oak, Dallas Fort Worth. It's also been recently revealed that Meta, another tech powerhouse, plans to build a data center campus in El Paso, spanning some 1,000 acres of land. But tech companies aren't the only ones that can't seem to get enough of Texas. Goldman Sachs, the leading global investment bank, has also broken ground on a brand new Dallas campus, poised to be the company's largest hub outside the New York headquarters. The headquarters, located in Manhattan, houses around 8,000 employees, while the planned Texas hub will be able to accommodate 5,000 of them. Now, you might be wondering at this point, what is it about Texas that makes all these major players want to establish a significant presence there? The answer is really simple. Texas is a true friend to businesses. What does this mean? Well, first and foremost, there are no state income taxes and capital gains taxes. This means that both individuals and businesses can keep more of their earnings, which is a rare feat for most US states. But Texas isn't just friendly to large corporations. That's why small business owners also have it good in Texas, which allows them to get higher loans for every employee they have than they would be able to in other states. This business-friendly environment and a highly skilled and diverse workforce is reason enough for businesses big and small to find a safe haven in Texas. But they're far from the only reasons why businesses and people are flocking to this state.
Alright, I'm gonna have to explain how how they're gonna make money if they don't have any taxes on income or capital gains. Pretty much, income tax means that when you get paid, they take a certain the federal government takes a certain percent. That's never going away. No matter where you live in America, the government's gonna take theirs. Then most states have income tax on top of that, so you have to give them normally smaller than the federal tax, but a certain amount from that. And then some cities also have a municipality tax where you pay because of where you live or work, you pay more. But how are they getting their and then capital gains tax means tax on how much money they bring in. This is more for the business owner side, but you get tax breaks and tax higher based on how much money you actually made this year versus how much you lost, which is why businesses will pay these absurd amounts for stuff that makes no sense because they can write it off as a tax break and lower their actual amount they made. But how are they making money whenever they do that? Well, they still get money from other states when they export. They get money from sales tax, wait, yeah, sales tax from tourism. They get money from the government for other reasons, like roads and stuff like that, keeping up roads. They get money from. There's one other thing that they can get money from: sales, federal government, export. There was one more, but I can't remember. Well, there's one more way, but if you can get enough of, that's why being a high exporter is a big deal, because you get, let's say if even if you have income tax, you still get a lot of money from exports. Half the reason Mississippi hasn't fallen off in bankruptcy. All right, enough of that. Let's continue.
Another major reason is the real estate market. Let's drop some more numbers.
Oh yeah, that's right. Land taxes. Property taxes is the fourth one.
In 2024, the median listing home price for a home in New York City is $838,000. For a San Diego home, it's just shy of $1 million. However, San Francisco and Los Angeles have some of the worst of it. You'd likely spend over $1 million, as the median listing prices for these cities are 1.2 and 1.3 million, respectively. Now take a look at some Texas home prices, and you see these numbers start to go down. For Austin, arguably the most expensive city in Texas, the median listing price is $600,000.
Really? It's not the coast?
Half of what you're expected to pay for an LA home. To live in Dallas, you'll need to pay some $477,000, while Houston homes average at $340,000. That's just over a quarter the listing
It's still
price
way too
of a
fucking
house
much.
in San Francisco. With this in mind, it shouldn't be surprising that Texas managed to overtake California as the strongest housing market in 2023. Over 80,000 homes were available for sale during this year.
Alright, I do have to explain why that's too much. So I currently got pre-approved for a home loan. Still searching because nothing's within the budget of it. But I make roughly $60,000 a year. I was only approved for 170,000. And I've already ran the numbers and budgeting as much as I can afford while still putting money into savings, a little bit of money into savings, to where after 3 years I'd have probably like $15,000 in savings. I can only afford like a $120,000 house. And that's if I lived frugally. So $400,000, not only getting approved, but being able to actually afford these $400,000, you're gonna have to be making $100,000, $200,000 a year. And I think, I don't remember what it is because I only remember about Mississippi's only about $40,000 income. Median income of the USA. All. There is no way it's that low. 2022, 2021. Yeah, it's growing, but. So I make almost double the median income. I can only afford a house, $170,000 from what the bank will let me, and arguably only $120,000, maybe $130,000. Jesus Christ, the freaking median income is a lot lower than I thought it would be. The real median income, okay, that's per person. This is household. So the median household income is $74,000. So, yeah, that's way too much for houses.
Doubling the inventory from the previous year. Thanks to a high volume of new construction, this number is only expected to grow, offering new residents abundant opportunities to settle in the Lone Star State. Oftentimes, these new residents are part of Texas's booming civilian workforce of 15 million people, the second largest in the US. New and existing residents can also get stellar education in Texas, home to over 300 trade schools and 125 technical programs. Thanks to innovative solutions,
Let's go
like
trade
Texas
school! A
Reskilling
lot better
and
in college.
Upskilling through Education or TRUE program, the Texan workforce can also be additionally trained to work in high-demand sectors. All of these factors have allowed Texas to assume a
Huh,
leading
maybe I should
role
move to
in
Texas.
national job creation, beating out Florida, California, and New York. Another factor that's allowed Texas to entice new people and businesses and thus become more powerful by the day is connectivity. The famed Texas Triangle, home to the state's four main urban centers, lies close to the midpoint of the contiguous U.S. As a result, the region benefits from stellar transportation links, making travel and commerce between Texas and the rest of the U.S. and the world both efficient and convenient.
Bullshit. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this. If you're driving through Texas for a road trip or something, never get below a half a tank of gas. Because there are some long ass stretches where you're not gonna see a gas station.
So it's no wonder that the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport ranks among the three busiest airports in the entire world by number of total seats. The only busier airports are the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with almost 5.5 million seats and the Dubai International Airport with 4.9 million seats. The DFW airport is also the primary hub for American Airlines, the largest airline in the world by fleet size and passengers carried. Another top global player, Southwest Airlines, the largest low-cost carrier in the world, also has a primary hub in Texas. This time, it's the Dallas Love Field Airport, located 6 miles northwest of downtown Dallas. Texas also boasts notable cargo airports, like the Perot Field Fort Worth Alliance Airport, a public airport located 14 miles of the central business district of Fort Worth. This airport also serves as a southern regional hub for FedEx Express and a focus city for Amazon Air, making it a key player in the logistics and distribution industry. What further aids this crucial industry is the vast and remarkable infrastructure in Texas. Simply put, Texas has the means to deliver products anywhere in the world. With a total of 314,000 miles of public roads, over 10,000 miles of track, and a total of 395 airports and 19 commercial seaports, Texas's infrastructure supports seamless transportation and logistics operations. This extensive network enables efficient movement of goods both domestically and internationally, solidifying Texas's position as a key player in global trade. Additionally, the state's strategic location and well-developed infrastructure make it a highly attractive destination for businesses looking to expand their reach and streamline their supply chains. All of this just leaves us with one more major factor contributing to Texas's leading position in the U.S. And that, of course, is the natural resources. As you'll soon see,
Yeah.
these resources are single-handedly driving much of this.
So, to put into perspective about how powerful natural resources can be, there was the California. The main reason California is as big as it is because there was 1969, I think. When was that? Pretty much there was this giant gold rush for, and everybody went to work in the mines in California. When was this? Actually, it might have been 1800s. Yeah, 1848 to 1855. So that drove all these miners. Well, what do these miners need? They need food, bringing in stores and restaurants. They need entertainment, which brought upon the oldest profession and still around in human history. If you know, you know. But that's what caused the economy. So natural resources will drive an economy to skyrocket if they're found.
State's economic prosperity. Resources that are much easier to have when you control one of the biggest states in the country. While it's the second largest state in the US, it's still overshadowed by Alaska, with its mind-boggling 663,268 square miles of total area.
Not a lot of
Since
people
Texas
live in
can
the other
just
areas.
add a few extra acres to its 268,820 square miles, Texans are bound to learn to live with their state being second in size and other jokes Alaskans make about it. One of the more famous of these jokes states that you could even divide Alaska in half, and Texas would still fail to snag that coveted #1 spot. Even worse, it would then be the third largest state in the US. But while Texas might have nothing on Alaska, its size is still far from a joking matter. After all, we're talking about a state that occupies 7% of the US's total land area. And
Yep.
amongst all this sprawling land are massive oil and gas resources.
Ooh, really? There's
So
oil in
massive
Texas?
that Texas has been a leading producer of oil and natural gas in the US for decades, making it the country's most valuable geopolitical asset. But how has Texas come to be in charge of almost half of the US's total oil production? Let's take another quick look back at the state's history to answer this question. The oil industry in Texas is over a century old. This precious substance was discovered by accident in 1894, while the American Well and Prospecting Company was looking for water in Navarro County near Corsicana in East Texas. Some 4 years would pass before the first modern refinery was built on this oil field. The success of the Corsicana field, paired with the increasing demand for oil worldwide, led to an intense search for new fields throughout Texas. And by 1901, the explorers had struck black gold, discovering the largest oil field in the world by that point in the town of Beaumont.
I already know what I'm going to do in this video.
This discovery set off an oil frenzy in the region, leading to a 250% increase in the population of Beaumont within 30 days of the discovery. By 1903, this number rose to 50,000 people, an almost 500% increase from the 1900 numbers. This discovery of the Beaumont oil field led Texans to another conclusion. There's more oil to be found in the great state of Texas. This conclusion led to the discovery of the oil fields in the Permian Basin in the 1920s. The Permian Basin spans over 75,000 square miles across West Texas and southeastern New Mexico, and houses over 7,000 oil fields. Almost instantly, this region became one of the most prolific oil and gas regions in the world, allowing Texas to emerge as a dominant oil producer. Thanks to Texas, the U.S. became the world's largest oil producer, embracing all the political power that comes with this precious resource. During World War II, nearly 6 out of every 7 barrels of oil used to fight the Axis powers came straight from the U.S., most of them originating in Texas. The oil boom allowed Texas to transform from a predominantly rural state into an economic and industrial powerhouse. It also allowed Texas to essentially become self-sufficient, a nearly independent state within the U.S. However, post-war oil demand soon rose sharply, significantly outpacing the U.S.'s production capabilities. In other words, for the first time ever, the U.S. had to get some external help in the oil department. So, in 1946, the first large-scale oil shipment arrived in the US, straight from Kuwait in the Middle East. As it turned out, this would only be one of the many shipments to follow, as the US essentially became a net oil importer by 1948. Given
Yeah.
how crucial oil is for the US economy, it's easy to see how this shift wasn't exactly ideal. It left the US vulnerable to fluctuations in global prices and geopolitical events that could disrupt the flow of oil. This vulnerability was
If you want an example of this, look up Operation Praying Mantis. Iran fucked up, that's all I have to say.
particularly evident during the 1973 oil crisis, when oil-producing Arab countries imposed an embargo on oil exports to the US in response to its support for
Oil
Israel
experts.
during the Yom Kippur War. Throughout all the turbulence, Texas remained a key player in the U.S. oil industry, contributing significantly to domestic oil production and helping mitigate the impacts of the oil crisis. And by 1974, the Permian Basin was producing some 25% of the U.S.'s total oil supply. Unfortunately, the geopolitical chaos caught up to Texas in the 1980s, pushing the state into a deep recession and scrapping some quite ambitious projects due to the lack of oil money. By 2007, the oil production in the Permian Basin hit an all-time low, spelling far-reaching economic trouble for the region. But then, Texas did what it does best. It adapted, improvised, and overcame the challenges. Texan engineers working in the Barnett Shale region in northern Texas managed to combine two technologies, horizontal well drilling and hydraulic fracturing, creating a revolutionary technique that would transform the oil and gas industry, hydraulic fracturing, or fracking as it's more commonly known. This innovative method allowed for the extraction of oil and gas from previously inaccessible shale rock formations, leading to a boom in production and once again revitalizing the Texas oil industry. This led to the drilling of thousands of new fracking wells all throughout Texas, including the Eagle Ford Shale in south and southeastern Texas and the good old Permian Basin. Luckily, the Permian Basin turned out to be packed with petroleum-rich shale rocks, allowing the oil field to once again be responsible for 25% of the total U.S. oil production. It also led to the discovery of more notable oil fields in the Permian Basin, some of which are among the largest of its kind in the world, including the Sprayberry Trend and the Wolfcamp Shale. Together, these fields are considered the second largest in the world, the Gawar oil field. Similarly, the Eagle Ford Shale is so massive that it surpasses Russia's largest oil field, the Samotlor field in Siberia. But what sets the Texan oil fields apart from their global competitors is their strategic location. You see, these fields are located in the heart of Texas, where most Texans live, and vast infrastructure has already been built. For instance, the famed Permian Basin is located near the Texas Triangle and is well connected to this crucial region by highway and rail. This makes it seamless to transport this oil to the rest of the US, as well as markets around the world. In contrast, the oil fields of Saudi Arabia are located in sparsely populated deserts, blocked by major maritime choke points, such as the Strait of Hormuz, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and the Suez Canal. Similarly, the Russian oil fields are located deep within the country's vast landmass, far from major ports and with limited access to global markets. With this in mind, it shouldn't be surprising that Texas has managed to stand out on a global scale, producing more oil than countries like Iraq and China. If it were a country, Texas would rank as the fourth largest oil producer in the world, only behind the US and the just mentioned Russia and Saudi Arabia.
Jesus, no
Given
wonder
Texas's
freaking Texas wants
advantages
to
over its
receive from the,
competitors,
succeed
it's
from the
only
nation.
a matter of time before it rises through these ranks as well. But Texas isn't investing solely in non-renewable energy. Staying true to the a little bit of everything approach, Texas also boasts impressive wind and solar energy production capacities.
I knew about the wind
For
farms.
wind energy, it ranks number 1 in the US,
Oh,
which
really?
shouldn't be surprising
I thought it would
given
be
that
2 or
it
3
houses
since
some of the
because of
windiest
Oklahoma.
areas in the entire world, mainly in the high plains and central Texas. Barely being able to find countries that can compare to Texas on a global scale should speak volumes about the state's power. With other industries
Oh no,
besides
the windmill
energy
stopped!
sector, such as agriculture, manufacturing, aerospace, biotechnology, and information technology continuing to flourish in Texas,
Ooh,
it becomes increasingly
biotechnology.
clear that Texas has it all to become the US's number 1 state. It has the strong industry, it has the people, it has the businesses, and it's only bound to get bigger and better. And as it continues to grow and diversify its economy, Texas becomes increasingly well
Hey, we're almost
positioned
done.
to lead the great American nation for years to come. Now, let us ask you, do you agree that Texas is bound to take the top spot among the US states? And if so, when do you think it'll happen? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. And if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about the increasing population of Texas, feel free to check out our video on the states that these new Texans are coming from and what's causing them to move.
Alright. Well, I am happily surprised that this was not as biased as I was thinking. And for those of you who do not really understand why I thought it would be biased, talk to a Texan. If you tell them that they're an American, they'll say no, they're a Texan. They wholeheartedly believe that they're their own country. Nothing's better than what's in Texas. They have the best barbecue, the best people. They have the best everything. They are the most prideful motherfuckers you'll ever see. But I'm glad this wasn't as biased as I was thinking it was going to be. It might have been slightly biased because it did ignore some other things that I'm not getting into. But yeah, it's I'm just impressed. So I'm gonna put the link to the original video in the description. Thumbs up if you liked the video. Thumbs down if you didn't. Subscribe to see more. And I'll see you guys later. Also, if you're listening to this, type Babaguchi in the comments. I'm not gonna tell you how to spell it. Just guess.